Is everybody ready for the Minddog, the magnificent show? Start the clock!
And welcome, my friends, to yet another episode of the Minddog TV podcast. I'm Matt Napa. Thanks for coming. It's great to have you here, as always. We're going to talk about wealth management today. It's something that most people really need help with. I'm one of these people who've lived my whole life really not understanding the fundamentals of wealth management and not really being all that responsible in a lot of ways. And most of the artists and creative people like me find themselves in that same boat. So there's a lot that we can all learn today. And I have somebody who's got a very interesting backstory, who is an expert in wealth management, that is going to help us get a better understanding of that. Before I do, I need to go through a product demo. If you've been watching this program now and listening to this program, you know what's going on. About 18 days ago now, I'm losing track of the days, but I think it was 18 days ago, Chris Burris from SES Research was here promoting his product called My Vital C right here. And by the way, this is not a sponsorship or paid promotion in any way. This is a product trial and demonstration. So basically what the claim of this product is that it can prolong your life by 90% or more, which is an extraordinary claim. And if you know me, I'm a hardcore skeptic, and extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. So I presented to Chris at that time that I was a skeptic about this. And he said, well, here's what I suggest. Have me back in 6 to 8 weeks. I'll send you a bunch of the product to try in the meantime. And when you have me back, we'll review your results. I said, fair enough. So that's what I've been doing. Got this stuff 16 days ago now. 15 out of the 16 days, I've had very good results. I've had a lot more energy, slept better. I can't speak to the clarity of thought issue, which is part of the claim of what this product does for you. I've never been at that cognizant or aware of how clear my thinking is. And so I just feel like my thought process is pretty much the same as it always was. Obviously, I can't comment on longevity, prolonging your lifespan. We have no 140-year-old people walking around the planet. So that's going to be a hard one to verify. Maybe 60 years down the road, we'll get to the bottom of that. But the reason I do it on air is basically twofold: to keep myself accountable, because if I don't do it on air, chances are I'll forget it and the whole experiment will be for naught. And the second part is just so there's video proof of me, so that we can verify, yes, I have done it twice a day as prescribed, taking the actual doses. And so it comes in two different forms. It comes in this form, and you do it like a little shot, or this is the one I do at night. It's basically the same amount. It's just in a portable container there. Do it twice a day. So here I go. I'm going to take this shot live on the air. It just takes a second. And a water chaser. Excuse me. Now, the negative thing, and if you've been listening to the program, you know about this. It just tastes really awful. So the first thing I'm going to suggest to him is, they can make cough syrup taste less than awful. They should be able to make this stuff taste a little less than awful. I have to take a little more water because it really is awful. Excuse me there. So that's it. It's called My Vital C. If you want to know more about it, you can just go to myvitalc.com/minddog. Again, this is not a paid sponsorship or promotion in any way. He'll be back October 29th at 1 p.m. and we'll review my results then. My sponsors for today are Fundwise Capital. Fundwise Capital is a business lender matching platform. It's they get you the best credit lines guaranteed. You can apply on lines in 60 seconds or less, and there's no effect to your credit to see how much you can get. Use the funding for anything you need to start or grow your business. That's right. I said start or grow your business. If you don't have a business yet, but you got a solid business plan, they can help you get funding. Get the best funding you can qualify for. Their strategic lender matching platform searches through hundreds of lenders to find the very best possible option for your unique situation. They have hundreds of 5-star reviews on Google, Trustpilot, and Facebook, and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. They provide unsecured lines of credit at 0% interest for 9 to 15 months, unsecured term loans, loans based on income, short-term gap funding or bridge loans. They work with real estate, startups, as I mentioned, franchises, restaurants, any kind of business, any kind of project. To get started, it's really, really easy. You just go to apply.funwise.com/minddog. That's apply.funwise.com/minddog. My guest today has a really, really interesting backstory. She's an expert in wealth management. Echo Huang is a founder of Echo Wealth Management. She came to the United States from China at age 20 with just $800 in her pocket, and she put herself through college and became a CPA, switching gears in 2000 to become a financial planner. The transition gave Echo the expertise to provide comprehensive financial planning and investment management services in order to improve people's lives. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome Echo Huang into the Minddog TV podcast. So please open your ears, open your minds, and say hello. Echo, welcome.
Hi, I'm very pleased to be on your show.
It's great to have you here. So you're all about. I mentioned your backstory, and I really want to talk about that. But the key to wealth management, I think you have to have some wealth to begin with, right? Or not?
Actually, people should think of it as financial planning opportunity. The term wealth management, people feel like you need to be wealthy to start planning.
Right.
I want people to understand that planning starts with very little money. So you can start building it and get to a large sum of money. So nobody suddenly, I would say very few people receive $1 million suddenly, right? So most people I work with, and also including myself, start with a small amount of money with smart planning and accumulate wealth over time. So I want people to learn something about financial planning and the importance of financial planning so that they can get started now, regardless how much money they have.
One more question before I want to go into the I want to talk about your backstory, but one more question regarding that. Does it matter at what age you get started at? Because
as soon as possible, certainly the magic of compounding interest works extremely well when you have more time.
Right.
So if you start earlier, you don't have to save as much. But I would urge everyone to look at their own situation, because it's, if you don't start it, you will never get there. So it's better to start right now, as soon as possible.
Right. Well, according to Chris Burris, I'm going to live to be 140.
Then you really have to save even more, because that's way longer than normal life expectancy.
Right. So tell me a little bit. So it's really fascinating. You came from China at age 20. Were you alone? Did you come with your family?
I came here by myself. At that time, my uncle was a visiting scholar in chemistry doing research for the University of Idaho in Moscow, Idaho. So I came here to study finance, and I stayed with him and his family for the first year to save money. And of course, it was way too expensive for me to pay for non-resident tuition. And I found a scholarship, and I was able to pay resident tuition by introducing my culture to the local community in Minnesota. So I flew to Minnesota by myself in 1993 and start my journey here. So now I am a true Minnesotan.
Wow! Oh, wow! That's interesting. So, and you were started as a CPA. Now, I don't think most people really understand the difference between a CPA and a financial planner. Can you explain that for me? What's really the difference?
Certainly, CPA is Certified Public Accountant. So most CPAs have this license, would do work related to accounting, like auditing or taxation, like prepare tax returns.
Right.
So many CPAs do maybe small portion of financial planning, mainly focusing on tax planning. Certified Financial Planner, the CFP designation, is mostly for financial advisors who want to have very broad knowledge of personal financial planning and go through very rigorous training and exam to obtain the CFP at that designation. So I would say the focus is a little bit different because CPAs will do a lot more accounting side, like auditing financial statements and help people with tax returns. But the CFP mainly focusing on helping people plan for their financial future, investment management, and insurance review. And of course, other issues related to college funding, estate planning, and charitable giving. So I made a career change in 2000 because I worked for KPMG, Pete Marwick at that time in downtown Minneapolis for almost 4 years and preparing tax returns for wealthy families and corporate executives. And but I enjoy the financial planning portion of my work a lot more than tax season. So after 3 tax seasons, I decided to try something very new, going from very conservative occupation as tax CPA to be a financial advisor and in personal wealth management in 2000 when the stock market just started tanking. And so it was very challenging for me to break into this career as I call myself triple minority because I'm Asian woman and a new immigrant at that time. And I was under 30 and it was not easy for me to, to succeed immediately, especially when the stock market was tanking.
Right. Well, I think Asian and immigrant are kind of go hand in hand. So I'm only going to give you a two and a half minority points on that. The culture change is from China to America. Is there a culture difference as far as how we look at money and prepare for our financial future?
Yes, there are definitely differences. I think Asians, I can't speak for everyone. Of course, this is just like a typical maybe Asian or Chinese American tend to save more, I would say, than general most Americans. And also, I think in China, a lot of people focus on investing something they can touch and see, such as real estate. And also, a lot of people are very worried about stock market, and they probably feel that investing in stock market feels like a gambling. Right. And also the financial system there in terms of stock market is not as mature as US.
Well,
so
that's interesting because I've had financial planners on before, several of them, and I brought up that my fear or belief that playing the stock market is a lot like gambling, and I got shot down sometimes with a little bit of anger behind it to disagree with that. So are you saying it is or it isn't sort of like gambling?
Well, when people don't have the expertise and they are playing the stock market like going to the casino, yes, it would be like gambling. However, if you know what you're doing or if you work with someone who has the knowledge and expertise, financial experts, then it's not gambling because when you think about finance is very serious science. We went through many years of schooling and continuing education to have a better understanding of how the financial market works and economy, how economy affects people's lives. So investing is prudently is extremely important for people to do because saving alone is not enough to achieve your goals. Imagine even if you're a great saver, right now you're earning less than 1% in your savings account. Even U.S. Treasury, 10-year U.S. Treasury bonds pay less than 1% right now. Extremely low interest rate environment. Even if you are a great saver and start saving money at age 30, but if you live to 95 without growth in your portfolio, most people cannot achieve their goals. So I really want people to learn this message about why prudent investing is so important in terms of helping them achieve their goals.
Right. So in China, when you grew up, what was teaching stuff like compound interest a part of the normal education process for children? Because I find in this country, a lot of people don't even understand compound interest and how it works.
I don't think it was taught enough when I was growing up in China, but I went through a non-traditional educational path. I didn't go to senior high school, and I went to School of Business and Economics, and I chose accounting as a diploma. So I probably learned a lot more about finance and business at age 14 than most people. But certainly in this country, I see financial literacy as a really important curriculum from kindergarten to 12, simply because many Americans do not have that concept. And when they get into very large student loan debt or consumer, like debt like credit cards, because they just haven't learned the basic financial literacy in their education.
That's interesting. We don't have that option especially in high school, of taking like a business economics alternative kind of education in high school. That would probably be a good thing for some people. But most people, I think, and I'm just shooting from the hip here because I don't know the statistics, but I think from most people I know, live paycheck to paycheck, week to week. And so is it possible to get out of that? Let's just say you're below like the $100,000 a year, six-figure salary, and you're living paycheck to paycheck. Is it possible to get out of that rut where you're living paycheck to paycheck and kind of build a financial future for yourself? And if so, what are the first steps in that?
Yeah, first, I want people to know that when I came here with $800 in my pocket, I had very little resources and I have very limited time to even find a job in the US. I had a 1-year period. I must find a company to sponsor me. Otherwise, I had to return to China after graduation. So just think about, for most people, they may have a debt. They need to have a budget to, have a very clear item each month, how much they are going to pay for necessary expenses, such as food, shelter, insurance and transportation, and then also paying down the debt that's dragging them down. And I think even for people who don't make more than, as you mentioned, $100,000 or more, they can still do something right now to first pay down the debt and have a budget that they can put in something for their long-term goals, such as retirement goals, I say, and then also have emergency fund. I think in this country, a lot of people don't have that emergency fund, that they miss many opportunities to earn higher income. So what I really want people to think about is, if they don't have emergency fund sitting and saving and checking that is enough to pay for at least 6 months of living expenses. So think about, if you don't have that, that should be your first goal, to have a budget to get to that 6 months living expenses in something that's safe. Because if you need to change your job, or you lose your job, or you want to take a job that's higher pay in a different state, you have some money that could get you there. So I think a lot of people need to manage their cash flow well, prepare for emergency situation, and also find opportunities to educate themselves and enhance their skills to obtain better job opportunities so that they can increase their income over time. And as they increase their income, they should also increase their retirement saving. Even 1% or 2% increase over time will help them get there sooner. Wow. So I don't want people to lose hope because they are like, well, I don't have any money. What do I do? Well, if you don't plan for your future, then it will be a lot worse, right? But if you start taking some steps, even small steps every single month, as you look back 6 months or 1 year, you can see you make your financial condition better. And that is the main purpose of personal financial planning, is trying to identify your goals, short-term, intermediate term, and long-term goals, and bring the future to present to come up with a financial plan that you are going to own your plan, and you're going to make yourself accountable. And there are professionals out there who are trustworthy and competent, including myself, to help many people to, better their financial future.
Great. That's the best answer to that question I think I've ever gotten. But so it starts with the budget, and I
Mm-hmm.
get that, and that's a great insight in that most people who feel stuck, they can't leave my job. There is something I really want to do with my life, and a change I want to make, but I can't because I don't have that backup finance. I haven't put any savings into making that a reality. So that's a good point. But on the budget stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people who put a budget together and it just doesn't match reality. Is there a key to really itemizing that? Make sure that your budget is realistic, because so many people I know and I don't work from a personal budget, and I'm an artist,
Mm-hmm.
and that's
Mm-hmm.
reflected in my financial status right now, by the way.
Yeah.
But I think when people do that, so many people I know who live by a budget, they're over budget all the time because
Mm-hmm.
they're unrealistic. What's the key to really getting that your ducks in a row and making sure your budget is a realistic budget?
Well, first, you can use some tools. There are many tools out there. The one I have used for many years, and that's free, is on mint.com, like mint.com. And the reason why I like using Mint is it has a mobile app that I can download to my iPhone. Once I set up a budget online, the key for me to set up a budget is truly start with what I consider bare bone budget, especially during pandemic. We should have a bare bone budget just to see how whether you can stick with it during this kind of condition. You're not going to spend a lot of money on discretionary spending like travel and entertainment anyway. So what I would like people to do is start with something like necessity, your housing, of course, food. You don't eat out as much, you cook at home, you're going to have very tight budget in that area. Clothes, you're not going to buy fancy clothes right now. I don't even buy any fancy clothes working from home. And then transportation, you drive less, right? So focus on those really important things. And then on the discretionary piece, as I say, the things that you can potentially cut, that is where I think may have some fat you can trim over time. And each person is different. I have my own challenges. I love to spend money on shoes and travel and dancing. Okay. And those areas, I monitor it, and Mint is going to give me alert if I exceeded my budget for that line, even by a single dollar. So if I'm middle of the month, like on the 20th, and I already got like 3 alerts from Mint saying I spent too much money on eating out or the clothing or whatever. So that's one. Having a tool helps.
Absolutely.
But you must take personal responsibility. So even if you consult experts like me, you still need to say, what is my goal? Right. I need to compare to last month. If I'm saving $200 or $300 more than last month before I have a budget and before I use the tool, celebrate that little win, right? It's good. You're making progress, because the next month you're like, okay, I can see progress now. I just saved the $300 that I did not save before. And keep in mind, it's very similar to fitness. It takes 21 days to, form a habit that you can continue maybe a lifetime. So just think about, give yourself grace if you're not doing very well right away, but also give yourself some credit if you have made some improvement. I like to see people making incremental changes, to better their financial life. It's not going to be suddenly I do this and next month I'm a millionaire. It's not going to happen like that. And so I would encourage people continue to learn, even myself, after 20 some years in personal financial planning. I am still learning something new that personally I can do better. And then I share that experience with my clients and other people. And so that I can help more people, do a better job with their budget. And make sure, even if you have emergency fund, you can always do better and think about, okay, now I have an emergency fund. What else can I do? Well, with a financial plan, you will know if you are saving enough for your retirement based on when you want to retire. Each person is different, right? So we need some kind of mathematical calculation. if that person doesn't know what they need to get to in terms of the financial number, like the net worth number, well, they need some help to do the calculation. If you right now has 100,000, based on your lifestyle, you anticipate lifestyle during retirement, and we look at Social Security income or pension or any other income, right? There is a number that you need to hit to achieve financial independence. So from here to there, how do you get there requires some kind of calculation and then break it down to monthly so that you understand, I can save 1,000 a month right now. I can do 700, for example. So at least right now you're not hitting that, but the gap. So in the future, you can learn how to bridge that $300 additional saving gap, either by getting a better job, earning more, or in combination of cutting out something that you wouldn't miss. A lot of subscriptions people have, they may not even realize it's $15 coming out of the checking or credit card. And they were like, I probably won't miss it. Cancel that, because then you review all those discretionary, because if you are not you can live without it. You probably don't need it, and just put that in your retirement saving. Then the gap is diminishing over time. So I want people to work on a true financial plan that incorporate cash flow detailed planning, especially for the next 5 years, because we don't know when the economy is going to get better. And always understand where the money is coming from and how much is going towards your long-term saving and the short-term goals as well, so that you could do a better job in terms of managing the portfolio, like where to invest your money, because the cash flow planning is very critical before you even invest your money.
Right. Well, and when we were going to school, we were taught there's no such thing as a stupid question, but I think I prove this wrong on a daily basis here.
No worries.
You use the term financial independence, and a lot of people listening to that, and I know this from a fact because I've gotten a ton of emails in the past when we've talked about financial independence. People assume that means set for life. I don't have to work anymore. What does financial independence really mean?
My definition is when you can make your work optional, you have achieved financial independence. What that means is, let's take my job as example. If someday I look at my, financial plan, and I know if I don't like what I do for a living, I can choose not to do this, and I can just choose to go ballroom dancing and travel and, write a blog or something. That means I have achieved financial independence, that I don't have to go to work for money. Of course, I can work for, charity work or volunteer work. And the asset I have accumulated is projected to generate enough return to support my lifestyle during my lifetime. So it's important to understand how many years you need to support the lifestyle based on each person's health and life expectancy. So I would say for a lot of clients I work with, they are very busy, successful professionals. They go out to work a lot and travel a lot, but they don't have enough time. They don't have the expertise to think about what investments I should be buying, and what strategies in terms of tax planning. So what they do is they say, Echo, I really would like to be able to say to myself at 60, if I don't want this demanding traveling job, I could potentially do something else, consulting for little money, but I don't want the stress. So for that particular individual, I can develop a financial plan for that person to show what you need to do to achieve financial independence at age 60. And if that person is expected to live to age 90 or 95,
140.
Exactly. I want the financial model to show that person is not running out of money before he dies, right? And
Right.
also depending on that person's long-term goal, some people may want to leave certain amount of money to their children or grandchildren or charity. So we want to incorporate all that in the financial plan because we want to understand, not only you take care of yourself, if you want to take care of your loved ones and specific causes you want to support. So it's important for people to understand each person's financial independence day can be designed based on that person's current situation and also long-term goals.
So, and I want to talk about retirement in a minute, but earlier you mentioned the low rates of savings accounts and stuff like that. Is there a better recommendation than a typical savings account for people who are looking to save money and get the most interest or get better interest rates than they would from a bank savings account?
See, it's really important for me when I talk about investment. There are all type of investment, and they can be included at different proportion to build a portfolio for each individual. So when we are talking about savings account in general, it's mainly for the short-term goal and the emergency fund, because savings account is FDIC insured. You are not going to lose money, but you are going to get very little interest. So in the savings account category, in that category, I would recommend people looking into some online savings account, such as like ally.com. And there are some online savings account because they don't have very high overhead. It's the same FDIC insured, so you can transfer the money easily to your own checking account. But if you park the emergency fund there, you are earning more than what a traditional savings account in the traditional banks are paying. So that would be my recommendation on that piece. However, for people who are trying to achieve long-term goals, savings account or CDs are not going to be enough for you, because if you are earning less than 2%, the interest, you still have to pay taxes on the 2% interest, and the inflation is more than 2%. That means for the long-term money, if you're not growing at a much higher rate to outpace inflation after taxes, you are actually guaranteed to lose purchasing power. So you're losing money slowly if you are not investing something that will grow and outpace inflation after taxes. That brings back to major component of portfolio management. So after you take care of an emergency fund, now you need to think a little bit longer term or intermediate term goal, right? If you have 5-year plan to buy a home, you need to think about, okay, what do I need to do to save the down payment? Well, you could potentially invest in something that's shorter term bonds or certain CDs for, the shorter time frame. That's 3 years to 5 years. But for your long-term plan, like a decade down the road for retirement, stock market is still one of the best places to be if you look at all the investment choices, because we can invest, we can build a diversified portfolio globally. Like the stocks, you're not limited to a few. There are thousands of stocks in the US, and stock market is about 58% of the entire world. So don't overlook overseas. So overseas present good opportunities too. So I would say people look at it and say, short term, how much I need to save? Intermediate term, how much I need to save and invest and where it should go. But for the long term, that's longer than 10 years, stock portfolio has to be the major component. It can be combined with some different maturity of bonds, because, for example, the bond can mature in 10 years or 15 years or whatever. So I have a combination of real estate, stocks, and bonds, and certain safe investments such as a savings account or short-term CDs. That would be a more balanced portfolio for most people.
It sounds a little intimidating for most people, to be honest with you. When you talk about the stock market, though, the stock market is so volatile, especially over the last bunch of years. That makes people nervous. You have confidence in managing the stock market, and do you have some secret that we don't know about? Because as we saw yesterday, one simple tweet out from Donald Trump can make the stock market drop 600 points in 5 minutes time. So it's extremely volatile. What makes you so confident that it's a good investment? Because it scares a lot of people, to be frank.
Yeah, that begins with education about diversification. So when we say diversification, is you're trying to put different type of investment in your. Let's say you have $1 million. You are the professional like me will look at your situation and say how much risk you are willing to take. You're gonna go through an assessment to decide how much volatility you can tolerate. Like, for example, we know stock market is volatile, right? But if you don't need the money at least 10 or 20 years down the road, why do you care what the price is tomorrow or yesterday? Right. So
Understood.
we need to make sure to go through an assessment to assess the investor and have that person have a basic education and say, if the volatility can be reduced by increasing other investment, not all in stock market. So you can imagine the proportion in 90% in stock market is going to be very different than 50% in the stock market. And we can tone down the risk. Risk means the volatility for that individual. And then why do I have the confidence in this? I first need to believe financial markets are not collapsing. If you don't believe that, then you will not put any money in stock market, and you probably don't have a job. I don't have a job, because if you don't believe the capital market will continue. So first, we need to believe that system is still working for us. Even after we have gone through all the crises, we still have a very strong financial capital market. Companies are still making money. I'm not saying every single company, but we are not gambling on 10 stocks. We're talking about thousands of stocks. So companies are making profit. When you purchase the stock, you become a shareholder of that. If they are earning profit and you expect that to make a profit, so someday you are going to be rewarded by even receiving dividend, or the price would go up someday when you, in the future, when you need the money, you sell, right? So I don't control the stock market. However, it's so important to understand how I can decide what kind of investments, what type of stocks to buy in terms of proportion, how much should be overseas, how much should be large company, small company, how much can be in real estate. In that case, $1 million portfolio, we can design with different proportion and still get to over a long period of time. Remember, nothing's guaranteed, but with all the statistics that we can run over the long term, stock market is going to outperform many other investments, such as you said, savings account, checkings account, CDs, or in your house or mattress or whatever. So I do want to share one important data right in front of me, because this is based on JP Morgan's recent study. And because I want people to get a message of, you don't control the stock market yourself. So you need to have a plan to properly allocate your money, right? We call it asset allocation, to diversify. And that's a really important principle, is you don't want to gamble on a few stocks because you could completely lose it. We don't want people to play it like a casino. But knowing that if it's diversified and you can tolerate the volatility, when it goes down 25%, for example, during a market crash, you know that that's not the money you have to sell to pay for your utility bills or college expenses in the next 5 years. So if you don't have to sell the stock portion of the portfolio for the next 5 years, as you can see, markets sometimes recover very quickly, like this year. So that has to stay invested for the long term. Another important principle I want your listeners to understand is the time in the stock market is more important than the timing of the stock market.
Wow, that, I think most people think it the opposite. Like I got to time it just right, and so that's an interesting insight. Why?
So why? Okay, I have the study to show you this. For people who are fearful, they probably get out of stock market when it was crashing down, and they say, I don't want to lose more, and that's why I want to park somewhere safe until everything feels good and rosy. Then I go back in. You know what? If that person does it, that person would have missed more than 50% rate of return year to date from the bottom of the stock market, because stock market recovered very quickly from end of March this year. And I have a study going back to, this is the JP Morgan study, run the data for S&P 500. That is the index to track about 500 large US companies in the US. So that's a very broad, market, right? If you track the data from January 3rd, 2000 to August 9, 2020, if you invest the $10,000 in S&P 500 during this period of time and not change a single thing, that means fully invested and not try to time the market, the rate of return would be 6.12% per year. So your $10,000 investment that you invest on January 3rd, 2000 would turn into $34,019 by August 9, 2020. Just fully investing. There's nothing magic here. No secret sauce. Just not try to time the market. That's if you time the market. Let me just tell you, if you missed 10 best days in the S&P 500, only 10 best days out of over 20 years, okay? The rate of return would go down to 2.18% per year. 2.18% per year. That $10,000 you invest would turn into $15,585.
Right.
10 days, only 10 days. Think about people. And if you miss the 60 best days during the 20 years, the rate of return would be negative 7.67% per year. So who want to lose money consistently over 20 years and try to get in and get out and thinking you have the crystal ball, either overconfident or being too fearful? Those are two emotions we need to pay attention to.
I think fearful and panic is the one I've seen the most. People I know who invest, and it generally happens when people come into some money, they want an inheritance, let's say, and they put that in the market. And the minute it starts to lose money, they want to bail out. And it's important to realize that those statistics that you just read, that was through 3 financial crises. We had one in early 2000s. Yeah. We had the one when you were just becoming a CFM, and then we have this one now. That's 3. And the confusion part for a lot of people, myself included, is each one of those times we were told this is going to be the worst thing since the Great Depression. And I think people lose perspective on what the Great Depression really was. Breadlines for 10 years and incredible unemployment, people out of work with no safety nets whatsoever, and really starving. Can you clarify that? Why these recessions are overhyped sometimes, and why do people expect, like we've heard that expression 3 times now in the last 20 years, this is going to be the closest thing to the Great Depression, and it doesn't turn out to be like that at all. So what is the misconception there? What's the missing piece that confuses a lot of people on that?
Well, I think first is media. Goal is to sell news.
Right.
And the media's goal is trying to get people to watch the channel all the time, right? So if everything's so calming and not alarming, who's going to watch TV and pay attention to the breaking news of the day? So in my mind, I think when people are tied to like watching this kind of news around the clock, they tend to be even more fearful because they forget the importance of financial planning, such as I mentioned about cash flow planning, pay attention to emergency, and build a diversified portfolio. And you need to review it, but you need to stick with it. It's not because you pay attention to the news of the day and then you become emotional and make the emotional mistake over and over again. So I think the media plays a big part of it to hype the, whatever crisis of the day. And of course, market crash, as you just mentioned. But does it matter if it dropped 5% tomorrow? For me, I don't really care that much. I am more about, have I designed the right portfolio for the client to tolerate this kind of volatility and will rebound and capture the market return when they, deliver the return, right? You don't want to miss the return when they have the positive return. I think the second thing is when people, that goes back to the diversification of, portfolio and understanding of the financial market. Since the Great Depression, well, you and I were not around, but the lawmakers have done a lot to protect investors. And many laws, because people lost so much during the Great Depression. And I think in today's stock market, global stock market are better than before. And as we saw, even financial crisis, we eventually came out of it. The system didn't fail, right? But if people have no confidence in the system, that is the problem. That person is making the wrong decision based on what they believe the system may fail and not recover. So I really want people to first look at their own personal situation to plan ahead with, as I said, emergency fund. If you are not forced to sell the stocks when they are temporarily down, we always need to look at it as it's not permanent unless you sell. It's really important for people to understand, you live in a home. For example, you move into your dream home, you are going to live there, you tell yourself 10 to 15 years. Do you want to call your realtor and get an appraisal every single day?
No, right. Yeah, I get it.
Right? I just want people to kind of switch their mind and say, if I have done my cash flow planning and I work with someone who does the calculation to help me decide how much is enough to save, and how to construct my portfolio, whether it's 80% in stock market or 70% in stock market, whoever they help you design the risk number, you need to trust that person. And then for the long-term money, you must invest with long-term perspective. So I think I want people to, if they don't know how to do it, it becomes too overwhelming. First thing to say to yourself is, can I define my goals? Simply just write it down on a piece of paper. And then as you go and talk to people and to find the right partnership, hire an expert to help you is better than put your head in the sand and just not do anything. Because I believe a lot of people in this country, first, they don't have enough knowledge about personal financial planning because this profession is actually relatively new compared to, doctor and lawyer, that kind of occupation.
Right.
So this occupation is relatively new. And also, I think the standard for this occupation has gone up now. We certainly want to maintain high standards so people who can obtain great knowledge to help people. So I would say if people don't know where to start, I wrote a book for this purpose because, so my book is Own Your Future, a woman's story of immigration and financial freedom. So first two chapters, I talked about my personal journey coming to this country, how I, overcome obstacles to plan for my own financial future. And the remaining chapters cover all aspects of financial planning from my perspective as a fiduciary financial advisor who look out for clients' best interest, with case studies so that people understand how to come up with an investment plan, how to plan to save taxes, how to do charitable giving more tax efficiently, and then what are the tax strategies they can use. So my first purpose of writing the book is to educate and inspire more people in this country to start personal financial planning now, regardless how much money you have. That's my first reason for writing this book. The second is to really want to encourage more women and minorities to get into this profession because there are very few women do my job. 20% of the certified financial planners professionals are women in this country. That was 20 years ago when I passed the exam. The data is still the same, about 23%. So 23% is very small number. So we want more women to get into this profession.
Well, I can back that up by saying I've had more than 20 financial experts on this program. You're the first one that's a female. So, yeah, I can. That seems to jive with what I know. Seems to me a big part of your job, at least in the first year or so, somebody would be working with you, is talking people off the ledge, that calming them down when they start to panic. That's probably a big part of the profession, isn't it?
You know what? You hit it right there. I have to tell you that the biggest difference between my former career as a tax CPA versus what I do now, I did not. Let's say when I got into the profession in 2000, the stock market was tanking. I had to figure out very quickly how to manage clients' expectations so that they don't, as you said, jump off the cliff. Because in 2000, remember, we had the best stock market in the 90s. I have very little money to invest because I was a foreign student with very little money. The stock market was all up. Remember late 90s?
Yes.
So when I prepare a financial plan, imagine I was a 29-year-old woman trying to help people plan for the future. And the rate of return at that time, we project the investment going forward to grow their retirement account was 8% per year. And several new clients looked at me and said, I hire you and you can only make 8% per year. You know, people tend to forget the stock markets do not go up for a decade and another decade. They have forgotten.
Right.
Stock market, you could lose money, right? So 8% rate of return per year, based on today's standard, it was too aggressive. But at that time, they were thinking, I just made like 20% rate of return on like 10 internet stocks last year.
Right.
And I got, I didn't really do much work. So you can see that managing clients' expectations and also help them overcome behavioral biases are very critical part of my job. Because remember I mentioned about being too greedy or too confident. There are other biases we all have. We are human, right? We are emotional about our own money. But I think it's important for financial advisors to understand each client's money history, to understand what is driving that fear or greed, so that during this relationship, it's really important for the advisor to understand how to get that person thinking more clearly before taking any action. And for individual investors, if they don't believe they can do it alone, having a professional have things written down. There's investment policy statement that shows what kind of risk is prudent for you based on your situation. So you're less likely to make that emotional mistake, especially during volatile market times. That is worth probably a lot more than 1% of the fee you pay your financial advisor if that person prevent you from making those crazy mistakes and miss 50% of the stock market year to date. So that's my belief why, as this profession, we can really help a lot more people manage their emotions better. They can be emotional. Remember, I can be very emotional too. But based on my training, I'm not going to, because that day I'm emotional, I'm going to make those dramatic changes to my investment. I have a lot more documentation and rationale based on my research before I make some kind of adjustments. So just think about professionals need to do a lot more work before they go in and decide making some changes. Unlike many individual investors to get out of the market like on one day and then just sit on the sideline for another 3 years or 3 months. That is the problem I see very frequently. happened to people. They told me the story. They like, Echo, I just now I don't know when I can retire because
Right.
I know I made some mistakes and I know that could happen again. And what do I do? And I think first start with a written financial plan. And that's really important. When it's written down, you know what your budget should be. You know what kind of amount emergency fund you should save for. You know how much you save for college expenses and how much you save for your retirement. And you know exactly how much life insurance you should have, disability insurance or long-term care insurance. And you go and visit your estate attorney. If you don't have an estate plan, now is the best time to do it because during pandemic, anything could happen. If you have one, it's a perfect time to review. And I have revised my estate plan in July. So I just want people to kind of think about personal financial planning is more than managing investments, but managing the investments wisely is very important part of the planning.
Well, I have so many more questions, and we're almost out of time. We have like 5 minutes left, so I want to talk about. You mentioned retirement. My belief is, yeah, and you talk about planning for retirement. My personal belief is, once you retire, you're ready to expire. Most people, when they stop working, whatever it is, they kind of get ready to die when they stop working. It's just the way I look at life. It's like I want to keep working my whole life, but for those people who want to retire, and I'll let you kind of respond because I saw you shaking your head no. But for most people who want to retire, the one thing that were the major the foundation of their retirement plan is the IRA. And I always think, well, that's somebody else managing your destiny for you. Is it better to take hold of that yourself? Is an IRA necessarily the right way to go, or is it better to kind of take control of your own destiny and manage your retirement portfolio yourself? And now you can respond to all of that.
Okay, the first point I want to make is the retirement planning is different for each person. So when you stop working doesn't mean that you don't do anything. So in my book especially, there's a chapter to talk about how you can live a great life after you achieve financial independence, because that could be many years, could be 20 or 30 years. So people need to be engaging in the community, in their hobbies to continue to live healthy lives. That's my first point. So you don't stop. Investing does not stop when you get there, because you have to still outpace inflation in order for the money to last 30 years. Right. So investing doesn't stop there. The second point is I disagree that everybody, I believe that there are many ways to invest for retirement. IRA, 401k, and other taxable investments can be combined together to form a good investment plan for the long-term retirement goals. And there are Roth IRAs there that I talked about in the book. So people need to understand Roth IRA is tax-free, and many people are able to contribute. And so in the future, the tax rates go up when the deficit is so high. You can take out $1 and you can spend $1 without paying taxes if you pay the taxes today when you're at a little bit lower tax bracket. So that's in the tax strategies chapter. So I would say, I would encourage your audience to probably go and read my book and connect with me on my social media. Visit ownyourfuture.guru. That's the website. Own Your Future is the title of the book. .guru is GURU, because I want to be a financial guru for many people in this country, even though I cannot be your personal financial advisor. So I hope people will read the book, and I hope you will take some action and to better your future.
Right. The link is already in the description for the book, and the website URL. Your website URL has been scrolling along the bottom there. It's echowealthmanagement.com. I know there's a shorter version. I think it's just echowm.com, which will get you to the same place. So those links will be in the description. So the question now is, you're in Minnesota. Do you work with people? Can you work with people remotely, or are you working with people all over the world or all over the country?
My team and I right now, this company I started 5.5 years ago, and I manage more than $120 million for 76 households across the country. And I have several clients overseas. And we have been doing this virtually for many years, so not limited to Minnesota. And if you're interested in my company, you can check out the video on my company website as well. If you're interested, certainly you know how to get in touch with my team, and we have our fee schedule and everything on the website, so people know exactly what we do, how we charge fees, and we have mobile app as well, so clients can definitely check their balances and everything on a mobile app. And I want to point out, this is my book, so hopefully more people more people will go out there, the Amazon, and buy this book and write a review for me, so that more people will improve their future.
Well, we wish you great success with the book. Again, all the links that we mentioned today will be in the description, nice and clickable for people so they don't have to go searching for them, the link to the book as well, and you'll be able to find them there. I thank you so much for this. Again, I have so many more questions. We are out of time. We're just at an hour now, and there's so many more questions to be asked about this subject. Maybe you can come back sometime and we can get further into it and kind of take a deeper dive. But I appreciate your time and I wish you great success moving forward. And thanks for coming today.
Well, thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye. Echo Huang, folks. Again, all the stuff is, the links will be in the description. I hope you follow up with her. And you know what? The biggest takeaway for me is this idea of, and I think a lot of people negate this. A lot of people feel stuck in their lives, and they don't have a emergency funding for. I want a job change. I want a career change, but I can't. I can't because I don't have that backup foundation for whatever it's going to take to get started. To do this, I had to leave the corporate world. I had to have some money to live on in that meantime. I think that's what makes people feel stuck is they don't have that that fallback, that safety net for when they start something new. And then so you're never going to start something new. You're never going to take advantage of the opportunities that present in life. So that's my biggest takeaway. But there was so much more from what she said. Again, I know I say this a lot and I'm a broken record with it, but best thing to do is download this program, listen to it 3 or 4 times if you need to take notes. If you have more questions or comments, I will be glad to forward them to her, but you can always ask me questions and comments at info@minddogtv.com. I hope you enjoyed this program and got a lot out of it. I hope you'll come back, subscribe, go to my YouTube channel, subscribe there, go to minddogtv.com and get on my mailing list. Again, questions and comments for me, info@minddogtv.com, info@minddogtv.com. Till tonight, when at 8 p.m., when my guest will be Holly G. Green, and we'll be talking about using the power of brain science in business, which is a whole different ball game for me. Brain science meaning the physiology and just the whole science of how your brain works and controlling your brain function is a really unique concept to be thinking of that in terms of business. But we'll be talking about that at 8 p.m. tonight. So again, come on back. Until then, I'm Matt Napo for the Minddog TV podcast. Thank you for coming. Enjoy the rest of your day, and bye for now.